talk about change today and what it takes to change. Over the next few videos, I'm going to share some techniques I've used and some prompts that actually help people move toward the person that they want to be. Most people I know do want to change. They actually want to be different, but they sort of don't evaluate how hard it is to actually change. I think that essential change to our nature is actually really, really hard. It's not impossible, but it's really hard, and it's hard to do, and it takes a real effort of work in our heart, our mind, our soul to make it happen. And because of that, many people fail to change and think that they must not be able to change. Here's a couple of the ways that I think that people sort of want change. They want to be different than who they are, but they fail to do it. The first is that people focus on tactics, not character. So I might say to myself, like, I want to lose weight. And so my goal is I want to lose weight, but I don't actually think about what I'm trying to accomplish. That's not just losing weight. So for instance, I don't want to overeat as a response to my emotions is more of a character issue that's lasting change that isn't just about the one tactic. Sometimes when we focus on the tactic, we sort of lose steam, and you may actually accomplish the tactic, but whatever's behind the scenario in your mind and in your heart that's keeping you from changing, it's going to rear its ugly head again. You're going to be back in the same exact position. So dealing with a tactic instead of a character, not kind of coming up to the point of being able to realize what is it that I'm actually having a vision for who I can be, which is what we're going to practice together. Another thing that people do is they take on too many things to change at once. And I actually think that this is your spirit's way of sabotaging the change, because if you take on too many changes at one time, you say, I want to be this, I need to be different in all these ways, you're actually sabotaging the whole experience, because there's no way that you're going to be able to keep all that up. And I think a part of us knows that, and it becomes a nice, easy excuse for why we failed. I know that's hard to hear, but I think it's true. The third thing that people often fail to do is to take the time to allow the stages of change to kind of develop in them and to understand what's kept them where they are stuck in the first place. And so what this is called it's called secondary gain. The idea is there's a reason that I continue to do what I'm doing. There are, of course, the things that are creating pain in my life or creating feelings of being stuck or frustrated, and I'm interested in changing those. But there are reasons that I'm staying in what I'm doing. There's a secondary gain that's working for me in this thing. So let's use the example of anxiety. Let's say I really struggle with anxiety, and it's a pain point, and I don't want to struggle with it anymore. I don't want to have this be true of me, particularly social anxiety, and I get really caught up, and I don't want to do parties, and I don't want to move toward people. I don't want to be open because it's too scary, all that. Okay, great. That's creating pain maybe because there's loneliness. The secondary gain means that I can say no to things I don't want to do. I don't have to take any risks. I don't have to do rejection. There's all this other stuff that's part of the reason why the person has not changed or sort of attacked or worked on their social anxiety. Does that make sense? So the idea of secondary gain is really important to think about, not with condemnation, not with like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is who I am, but really just curious about, okay, there's some things I'm getting out of this dysfunction that I don't want to have anymore. There's things I'm getting out of it. Let's say I'm a person who's constantly crossing my own boundaries and constantly stressed. I have to ask myself, well, what am I getting out of staying constantly stressed? Well, I don't have to deal with this issue. I don't have to move toward my family. You have to realize those things so that you can understand the fullness of the thing that you're sort of seeking to change. So here's an exercise for today that I like to use to help you get to character, not stay just in tactics, not just go, I want to lose weight, but really move toward that character. And this is the thing. I want you to imagine yourself as an old man or an old lady, someone in their 70s. I want you to imagine yourself sitting at a table surrounded by people, but you are in your 70s. And I want you to ask yourself, what kind of person do you want to be when you are sitting at that table? What kind of stories do you want to be able to tell? What kind of emotions do you want to bring to the table? What kind of relationships do you want to have in your life? And I know this could be very challenging. Most of us do not think more than a year or two ahead, but if you could just stop for a minute and you can even think about someone maybe who's in their 70s that you really love. What is it about them that you love and admire? Who is it that you want to be? Most of us want to be more joyful. Most of us want to be more peaceful. Most of us want to live bigger lives. So think in that way and just jot down some notes, take a journal, fresh journal for 2020, and write down some characteristics that you would like to embody when you are near the more near the end of your life, as you've gone through the fullness of your life. Who do you want to be? Because who you want to be is the pathway that you are already on. If you're in your 20s, if you're in your 30s, if you're in your 40s, you are already on the pathway to becoming that person. And if anything that you want that person to be is not in your life right now, then you can start to hone in on what is the one thing, particularly for this year, this higher level thing that I want to focus on changing. Okay, next time we are going to talk about another exercise to get you closer to understanding that thing that you are ready to change. See you then.